out of lead and arsenic? Ashley Tisdale. What? The Ashley Tisdale mansion sucks. Does it? Inside Ashley Tisdale's self-designed family home. Is Ashley Tisdale doing well? I used to be such... Why did this come up? Ashley Tisdale mansion brought up Jackson and I's Man of Medan... what was this one called? The Man of Medan anthology game. Hey, I mean, fuck yeah. I guess when people think of Ashley Tisdale's mansion, they also think of us playing a shitty horror game. Because she voices it. Wait, no way. If I just type in Ashley Tisdale, will this come up too? Unlucky. Not quite. Only when I'm more specific.
And we just went with like...
Is this a fountain? This seems like an accident. Like there was a hose that was left here next to a rock. Like a small little table. Not a big fan of that fountain, I'll tell you right. This feminine and masculine balance. They're chairs. I mean, just chairs and bowls. And like a rolling pin in a vase. Why? What is up with this trend of looking so deep into shit? You walk into a room and you're like, oh fuck. Way too masculine. It's just so basic and boring. And it's missing a pantry. Just, there's more of a problem. A non-toxic crib? What, do they usually make cribs out of lead and arsenic? What does that mean? Eco-friendly and non-toxic crib. Best non-toxic crib. This sounds like a scam. Like organic oranges or something. No gamers were harmed in its making. Nice. So what does a toxic crib look like? What is it made out of? I want to get my kids something that's going to really put some hair on their chest. I want it to emit at least, I don't know, maybe like 3 bananas worth of radiation. How about this? How about toxic crib? Or what cribs are toxic? Is your baby's crib exposing them to toxins? Certain paints, glues, woods, and plastics can emit harmful chemicals and gases known to cause cognitive delays, chronic health issues such as allergies, asthma, kidney failure, cancer, and more. Knowing that your newborn baby will be spending 16 to 18 hours a day in their crib, it is vitally important to make the most educated decision on which one you're choosing. Can you give me an example of one that does that? VOCs are gases emitted from certain woods, glues, and paint finishes. So formaldehyde, benzene, phenthol, I don't even know this one. Phthalates, and a slew of other gases I can't pronounce. Oh, it's like I'm reading it and wrote it. Whatever the name, I certainly don't want them anywhere near my baby. So this is one of those things where, like, you look at the back of a cereal box and you don't recognize 3 ingredients and immediately assume it's poison? Or is this a real thing? Holy shit, you can make meth with cribs. It is a real thing. It's mostly bullshit. Yes and no. It seems more people are saying it is a real thing. I've never heard of it before. I'm genuinely asking. I've never heard of, like, cribs exposing babies to toxin. Now, I did know about baby food exposing them to toxins. Because there was a lot of, like, actual, like, arsenic and shit in baby products. but I've never heard of like a non-toxic crib. Shout out Gerber. Yeah, amen Gerber. Rest in peace all those infants that were eating meat sticks. Like me. Bro, I was eating OG meat sticks, bro. I was getting like double the daily recommended dose of arsenic for a baby. I went to town on these bad boys. Anyone ever... We have any meat sticks fans in here? Or I think they're called Lil Sticks. Oh, yeah. Where's my Lil Sticks fans at? These bad boys, oh, they'll make you grow up big and strong. It's called Vienna sausages. Nope, they're called Lil Sticks. Vienna sausages probably have significantly less poison in them than the Gerber variant. Basic and boring. Except for whatever this was, like a giant blunt or something. What the fuck is that?
But he has this really cool pattern, and I liked how kind of funky and dining room dresser. But he has this really cool pattern, and I liked was later. Like I just and had wanted there. That's how we got. They was doing watch.
Yeah, I mean, it's like again, it's not even bad. It's just boring. I don't know why you singled out the Ashley Tisdale mansion. Alright, 10 mansions no one wants to buy for any price.
So you're in the market for a mansion, but your budget is limited. Very, very, very limited. Well, good news.
Of course I do,
there are mansions
thanks
out
to
there
some
that
fresh
could be
milk.
yours for as little as $1. But a deal that seems too good to be true tends to come with a catch, or consequence. Let's take a look at 10 mansions no one seems to want to buy at any price. 1. Former mayor's house in Jordan, Minnesota.
Sounds awesome.
Many of the entries on this list have had trouble selling because they're downright spooky. But this first house is not one of those haunted mansions. This one remains on the housing market for a much more earthly problem. The 4-bedroom mansion, formerly the home of the first female mayor of Jordan, Minnesota, is zoned incorrectly and needs to be moved. It has no parking and no hookup to the town's water and sewage system. And to make matters worse, while the outside looks lovely, the inside is more than a little out of style. That's how the house ended up with its unusual price tag. It's free. The current owner, the granddaughter or former mayor Gail Anderson, said in an interview that it's going to cost $50,000 to move it and $150,000 to fix it up. So I'm not giving away some hidden gem. No indeed. But free is still pretty cheap for a house of this size and
this is like a wet dream for, well, squatters probably wouldn't even live here, but like homeless people.
2. The S.K. Pierce Mansion. This beautiful Victorian home is located in Gardner, Massachusetts, in a tiny part of New England, yet it never seems to sell for market price. Why? Because it's considered one of the most haunted places in America.
No way.
Built by wealthy businessman Sylvester Pierce in the late 1800s, this nearly 7,000 square foot mansion was built as a dream home for
just say it in the chat form. I won't play it tonight though.
And son. Unfortunately, shortly after they moved in, his wife succumbed to a mysterious bacterial illness. Pierce remarried and had 2 other sons, but then passed away himself soon after in 1888. Over the years, his second wife too passed away, the family fortune was frittered away, and the 3 sons began to fight. The son who took control of the house turned it into a boarding house, and from there, rumors abound that a prostitute was strangled to death in the famous Red Bedroom, a Finnish immigrant burned to death in the master bedroom, some believe having spontaneously combusted, that a young child was drowned in the basement, and the list goes on. Residents and visitors to the house have reported cold air, foul smells, apparitions, voices, chanting, and objects being moved or even tossed across rooms. The home has been visited by TV shows including My Ghost Story, Ghost Adventure, and Ghost Hunters. So perhaps it's no surprise that the only people who wanted the old mansion were not, in fact, residents, but a group called Dark Carnival that has made the home open to the public. It's now a haunted mansion that contains a haunted house, complete with actors and illusions, if you're brave enough to go inside.
Cool.
New Jersey's Aubrey Lewis House. Take a look at this Montclair, New Jersey home. Big and beautiful.
I hate it.
Well, it was on the market for just $10, and no one bought it. Why? This house too came with a pretty big drawback. Not only did it need to be moved, but it couldn't be moved more than a quarter mile because of its historical significance. It was previously home to Aubrey Lewis, an All-American athlete and one of the first Black Americans to work for the FBI and to become an executive at a Fortune 100 company. 3 significant achievements individually, let alone altogether. So a prospective buyer would have needed both to want the house and to live in the neighborhood. Unfortunately, no one came forward who was willing to make the move happen.
Why?
Even after the developers who bought the lot offered $10,000 toward the cost of moving the beautiful old house. In the end, the town's Historic Preservation Commission lost out, and the historic mansion was demolished.
Oh.
No one wanted it, even for just $10.
There's no way. There's no fucking way someone wouldn't take that for $10. Like, moving it, yeah, it would cost quite a bit, I guess, but there's no way someone wouldn't do that. Taxes? I guess. I don't know. There has to be more to it than just, like, the movement hassle. They have to move after a while? Yeah, but they only needed to move it a quarter mile. Yeah, I don't know what the tax would be on it, but still. I'm sure you could somehow turn a profit on it. Like, that's just a lot of land.
Practically free homes in European ghost towns. If you're looking to live in a big house in a place with a shrinking population, you're in luck. Italy and England both have programs that'll sell you a home for €1 or £1 as long as you're willing to live at least 5 years in the tiny communities where the abandoned homes are based. These slightly more than $1 homes are, by and large, fixer-uppers in small towns with dwindling populations that their respective nations are hoping to revive, by luring national and international buyers to purchase the big, beautiful, but broken down buildings for very, very cheap. While some people have been tempted and have undertaken the work of fixing these houses up and moving in, there are still many more homes in towns across the United Kingdom and Italy that are standing empty and ready to be purchased, for less than the price of a cup of Starbucks.
Alright.
While the idea sounds romantic, it is, in reality, a challenging project to undertake, and the requirement to continue living in the home for 5 years after the purchase has probably kept many who might be interested at bay. It's only fair to be nervous about committing to moving to a new small town long term. 5. The
Buy the whole city? The whole city would be like $100.
Another $1 house. This Kentucky mansion sold for $1 and then was given back to the city, then sold for just $1 again. This historic Kentucky mansion's problem isn't just that it's dilapidated, rumor has it that it's haunted. The spooky Romanesque style home was built in the late 1800s for a coffee merchant. It eventually became the offices for a tax business, then it was taken over by the city because of, ironically enough, unpaid taxes. The beautiful old mansion was allowed to crumble as developers tried to fix it up and failed, and it
Glory days long gone.
The ghostly rumors that surrounded it, like that of a little boy seen staring out the window. Today, however, it has reportedly been turned into apartments, but there were many years when no one wanted it, even for $1.
Thanks, you shark.
6. Tillamook Island Lighthouse.
Oh my god, that'd be the most miserable place to live.
Sold to a normal homeowner
Holy
at any
shit.
price is the Tillamook Island Lighthouse of Oregon, and it came with its own islands. This abandoned lighthouse took years and years to find a buyer, and only ultimately was sold to
Oh my god, that looks fucking awful.
a building filled with funeral urns. Why was no one interested in purchasing a private island in Oregon? Well, the island's nickname is Terrible Tilly, and it has a history littered with tales of death and hauntings. It has been, historically, almost impossible to safely visit, and it's said that the Native Americans from the area long believed that the rocky island was haunted by
Who
spirits.
built on that?
The lighthouse was constructed in 1881 with the aim of preventing ships from crashing into the rock. Unfortunately, the lamp was not lit in time to save the Lupedia, a boat that crashed against the rock 2 weeks before the lighthouse was completed, and which lost all 16 souls aboard. The columbarium was constructed there in the 1980s, but today has lost its license and is seeking buyers to aid with the cost of restoring it. It's hard to imagine paying any price, however, to own part of a rock so closely partnered with death itself. 7. Georgian revival homes for $1. What if I told you you could have a 7-bedroom, 5-bathroom home for just $1,000? Pretty sweet deal, right? The only catch is that the inside is a little bit of a fixer-upper. Or, in the words of the
There's you some Tusk Thrill House in Jinxie.
Extensive and costly work done to make it livable. A glowing review. How is it possible? These dilapidated houses, of which there are many, are massive old homes, once opulent mansions, in abandoned areas of Detroit. This Georgian Revival home, for example, is about 4,200 square feet and has a whopping 69 windows. Sure,
what?
Many of these homes need extensive repairs to their electrical
and
plumbing systems, and when you're done, you'll live in a largely abandoned part of Detroit, but you'll be living like you're Henry Ford, and in his old neighborhood at that. The houses are regularly auctioned off by Building Detroit with bidding starting at $1,000. The home prices are kept so low because the city is prioritizing the rebuilding and repopulating of Detroit over making big money on the sale of these massive old homes.
Nice.
Besides, you'll need that money to overhaul the insides because these mansions might be cheap to buy, but they are in rough shape. 8. The Hex House. Another house with a chilling past.
I'm so tired of these fucking haunted houses, man. Ghosts aren't real. Earth is flat. Wubba lubba dub dub.
Traditional healer known locally as a powwow doctor, meaning he practiced faith healing and witchcraft traditions brought over by Pennsylvania.
That's not a mansion. Yeah, it definitely isn't a mansion.
Raymeyer lived in the house until 1928, when a man named John H. Blymeyer, also
I'd love to do a haunted house stream. It'd just be super boring because nothing would happen.
Came to his house with 2 accomplices.
So we have to set up scares.
Undone. When Raymeyer refused, the 3 men beat him to death in his home. They then set the home on fire, but the house didn't burn, which locals took to be a further sign of Raymeyer's occult capabilities. The house still belongs to descendants of Nelson Raymeyer, and they briefly opened it to the public in 2007. However, they mysteriously stopped letting people in, and today, the house seems to be abandoned and is merely a stop on the town's annual haunted hayrides. What happened that made them suddenly shutter the house's doors and windows? We may never know, but we do know that no one seems to want to live in
Go to a
house,
road trip to supposedly haunted places? There's plenty of haunted places right here.
William T. Smith House.
It's just nothing happens.
Is the William T. Smith House, an abandoned mansion in North
One of the
Carolina.
buildings on my college campus is one of the most haunted places in Florida. So people would just hang out there late at night and nothing would happen, ever.
Right next to a Civil
Myself
War
included.
cemetery, which makes sense because the house and surrounding area were used as a field hospital during the American Civil War, specifically around the Battle of Averasborough. Perhaps the creepy combination of plantation and field hospital have kept buyers away, as it's currently listed at just $60,000 after being abandoned some time ago.
That's a lot more than $1, like the other ones.
Some time. But there are upsides to buying this old, spooky mansion. You could get a historic preservation tax credit for fixing it up. Besides, who wouldn't want to live next to a cemetery? At least the neighbors are quiet, usually. 10. The Amityville Horror.
Hey, I know this one.
When it comes to spine-tingling homes, the site of the Amityville Horror has to be at the top of the list. The Long Island home where 5 people were murdered in 1974, and which has since regularly been the topic of scary books and movies, has historically had a hard time selling for market price. And it's no surprise, since visitors and residents have reported oozing walls, levitations, and demonic happenings in the home. Surprisingly, someone was willing to buy the house in 2017 for just $200,000 less than the original asking price. We'll have to wait and see whether or not they end up writing a book about the experience.
Probably not.
Have it. These 10 properties were all sold, or not sold, well below what their value should have been, whether because they came with a logistical snafu, additional costs, or something much more sinister. What do you think? Would you live in a haunted house at a reduced price? Would you be willing to move to a ghost town in exchange for a cheap mansion? What could have happened that 50 Cent's mansion sold for $2 million when it was valued at $18 million? Let us know in the comments. And
that kind of came out of nowhere. Probably wasn't haunted.
Thumbs up and subscribe to this channel for more spine-chilling information like this.
By far the best one on there was that lighthouse. By best, I mean like actually the worst possible place to live. I couldn't imagine living in a worse place. Constantly getting blasted by massive waves, isolated from the rest of society, and the place you're living on is basically a graveyard anyway. That is the worst possible situation. No internet, no electricity, no one, and the only way to get food is to go inland with a boat and have to wait for the waves to stop being so rough. Get food from the ocean. I guess you could try fishing for the food. Just order DoorDash. Can you imagine what a fucking flex that would be if you ordered DoorDash and tell them to put the food next to a jet ski and you just roll up and pick it up?